Angry here. As soon as I start talking, the dog starts barking. Angry here, and today we're discussing why a move overseas can actually help you to build wealth. All right. I want to go ahead and thank these patrons first, and then give special thanks to these patrons right here: Sharky GNU, Cryptonomy Royale 2.5, Mickey Turner, AWOL 201, B Bax, Brian A. Pierre Dramarto, David Herrera, Dead Lust, FA Crusader, Gabriel Prince, Goo Monster, Hansky, Iceberg 88, John Charles Clark Jr., Joseph Coyle, Joshua Flores, Levi Abram, Mocking Moniker, Nature Monk, Raymond Zuniga, Red Pill Blue Mage, Saint Everett, CPO Americana, Scott Venman, Thomas Danielle, Timothy Bruce Leosa, and David Strong. Thank you guys again for your continued support. Without you, I could not continue to make this content. So again, thank you. Today we're discussing why you should consider moving overseas to build wealth. Now, I don't say this simply. I'm talking from experience. I have saved a lot of money since I left the United States, and I want to say to you guys, if I had left the US years ago, I would have just oodles of money stocked up. Now, I want to talk about, before I jump into this and start telling you the different countries that you can move to, because this is going to be a list of countries, and I'm going to give you the reasons, the prices, and everything else. I want you guys to understand something, because a lot of you might have safety concerns and security concerns. Am I going to be safe in these countries? Or, am I going to die if I drink the water? First off, let me just tell you this, because I have traveled. The United States is not the only country in the world. It is not the only country in the world that has safety standards. In fact, the safety standards found in the United States often fall below the safety standards found in some other countries, like Japan, that has extremely high safety standards for poultry and eggs. Their safety standards are so high that you can actually safely eat eggs raw in Japan. That's just an example. You might say, well, that's a more developed country. What about what about countries like Thailand that are not as developed, or Mexico, or Vietnam maybe? First off, many of these countries are all quite developed. They may not have the same GDP as the United States, but don't misunderstand that they have a very strong health and safety board in these countries. People imagine that if you go over to Mexico, you're going to find, a desert, which is a complete joke. The media portrays these countries as being very poor. You imagine you go to Vietnam, you think that everything looks like a rural village. This is a complete joke. And I also have some countries that you might be surprised are actually affordable to live in. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to start discussing these countries now. The first country that I'm going to talk about is actually Vietnam, which I actually just mentioned a moment ago. For those wanting to live and work in an exotic place but not pay a fortune, Vietnam is a budget traveler's dream. It's one of the best and cheapest countries to live in for expatriates. Although Vietnam is still a bit of an insider tip, when it comes to cheap countries in which to live and travel, there's plenty to see and do. Now, Vietnam has stunning landscapes to explore, delicious local cuisines for foodies, and also somewhat of an adventure travel destination. Okay? The main cities are Ho Chi Minh and the south capital, Hanoi in the north, and Da Nang in the center of the country. Most jobs will be found in these cities. Okay, now the currency Vietnamese dong is currently worth around VND 23,000 to $1 and is one of the few currencies that has weakened relatively to the dollar in recent years. Now, if you want to actually work in the country, the most popular job for foreigners in Vietnam is teaching English. And there are many opportunities for English teachers with an average monthly salary ranging from $1,100 to $1,700 a month. That might sound low to you, but think about this. That salary is higher than in many neighboring countries. Now, to discuss the cost of living, I think that you guys have to really assess what cost of living is. For example, the apartment, where you're going to live, or renting a house. How much is it going to cost you to buy food? That's your cost of living, okay? As with most countries, the cost of living in Vietnam depends on the city or region you choose to spend time in. Okay, cities like Ho Chi Minh, Hanoi are of course are going to be more expensive than rural locations, but the pay is also higher. A small apartment can be rented for around $250 a month, while eating out costs around $1 to $3 per meal if you stick to local restaurants or street foods, and around $10 at Western style restaurants. Transportation is very cheap, with local public transport starting around 30 cents and taxis from just 50 cents per kilometer. Guys, 50 cents per kilometer. Think about that very carefully. Okay, so Vietnam is a great place to consider moving to. They have health standards. It's a relatively safe country. You don't have a lot to worry about. So that's one place to consider. Next up, I'm going to talk about Costa Rica. Costa Rica is probably the most popular country in Central America, and for a very good reason. Not just because it's one of the 10 cheapest countries to live in. Lush jungles, tropical beaches, and friendly locals will make you fall in love with this country and its pura vida vibe immediately. And you don't need to go broke while living and working there, because Costa Rica is one of the cheapest countries to live in for Americans. Ooh. Now, bargain flights from the US can also be found easily, making a trip to Costa Rica even more attractive. And although Costa Rica is more expensive than other countries in the region, such as Guatemala and Nicaragua, you want to stay away from those countries, by the way, because there's a lot of instability happening in those countries as a result of socialism. I mean, for example, if you guys are in the US, you know that you have people from Guatemala, Honduras attempting to cross into the United States at this time. So these are countries that have essentially ruined their own economies, utilizing socialism. So because of that instability within those countries, there's violence, there's lots of hardship, so you don't want to go over there. All right. So salaries tend to be higher in Costa Rica, and that makes a difference. Now, in terms of jobs, if you want to work in the country, teaching English, tourism, and scuba diving are some of your options. However, I do want to say that a lot of the work you can consider and you should consider won't actually be work done in the country itself, but rather work that you do online. For example, somebody like Nature Monk, and I don't think Nature is going to be leaving his country anytime soon, but someone like Nature Monk who has a wide array of skill sets. Nature Monk, he spends quite a bit of time in nature. So one thing that he would actually be great with is something like tourism, okay? He also is a photographer. So another good example would be selling photography and videos. Or even just sticking to photography and selling them on websites that sell royalty-free photography. And you can make a decent amount of money doing that as well. So, or someone like myself who does not have a 9-to-5 job, but has been able to provide for himself for years by developing software, by working in web development, by generating income through passive income through content creation, generating generating income a series of different ways. As you guys can see, I'm teaching you different ways to generate income. And I generate my income just, using passive income techniques. And this way I don't actually have to work in my country. Okay. So I don't have to work in China because of that. And by the way, I don't recommend anyone move to China. China is not even on the list. I'm just like letting y'all know I'm getting ready to make a move. Just put it out there. So for those of you thinking like China's not even on the list. Okay. So getting back to Costa Rica, cost of living, a meal in local restaurants will cost around $3 to $6. Okay, that's US, and rent runs from around $300 to $800 per month, depending on the size of apartment and location. Local transportation starts from around 70 cents per trip. Okay, so it's actually not the cheapest country, but it's compared to the United States, it's a lot cheaper. You can have, for $800, you can have a giant place. For $300, you can have a relatively nice small apartment, and you can eat relatively well for about $3 to $6. So that's something that I want you guys to consider. Next up, we're going to have Bulgaria. And Bulgaria, I know you're going to like, what? Why the heck would we move to Bulgaria? Again, guys, you have to think outside of the box, and you have to realize that the world is a much bigger place than you realize. So let's talk a little bit about Bulgaria. So Bulgaria, you might be surprised to find Bulgaria on the list of cheapest countries to live and work, but hear me out. If you'd love to work and live abroad in Europe, but are put off by the high price tags of countries such as Italy and France, turn your gaze to Eastern Europe. Bulgaria is one of the cheapest countries in Europe to live and has quickly become a favorite among travelers. A modest budget could allow you to live like a king in Bulgaria, and the country's central location is perfect for exploring the region, with countries like Greece, Turkey, and Romania at your doorstep. Bulgaria has a rich and vibrant history dating back over 8,000 years, so there's plenty to explore in your time off. And the most and let me see. And the most popular jobs are going to be things like teaching and tourism. Now, in terms of cost of living, you can get a one-bedroom apartment starting at $230 per month. A meal in an inexpensive restaurant will set you back around $5, and a trip on the public transport will cost you as little as $1. Again, very, very affordable. Very, very affordable, very, very reasonable. So you guys are now seeing that you really can make a big difference. Mickey is asking about Venezuela. Are you even serious, bro? Like, are you even serious? Like, Mickey, come on, don't troll. Stop. I mean, you're like a mod too? Like, don't bring that trolling here. Venezuela. Venezuela. Got some balls saying Venezuela. All right. Then we've got Mexico. So Mexico is on the list. Viva Mexico! Okay? Why travel further than you need to when Mexico is just a hop, skip, and cheap flight away from most Americans and Canadians? And Mexico has something to offer for everyone. You can think of the Mayan ruins in the jungle, the turquoise Caribbean waters, and laid-back beach town on the Pacific Ocean. Oh, and have I mentioned the street food yet? From tacos to tamales, ceviches to agua frescas. The food isn't only drool-worthy, but also super cheap. And if you avoid tourist traps like Cancun or Playa del Carmen, and opt for more local destinations like Merida de Guanajuato, Spanish is crap, Guanajuato, living costs can be a fraction of those in Western cities, okay? And the popular jobs there are tourism, teaching English, au pair, and sales positions are available. So like call center, stuff like that. In terms of the cost of living, a one-bedroom apartment will cost you anywhere from $200 to $500 a month. Street food cost starts at around $1 per meal, and a monthly pass for local transportation starts at around $16. Okay, and there's different border cities that you can check out. This way, you'll be closer to the U.S. If you want to keep in mind that when dealing with border cities, this just means basically cities that border the U.S. border. These cities are going to be more expensive. So, for example, it's going to be more expensive to live in a city that's closer to U.S. border versus a city that's further away from the border. The further you go into the country, the cheaper it's going to get. Next up, we're going to discuss South Africa. I know you guys are like, what, South Africa? I told you Africa's coming up. All right. Breathe, angry. So, do you really want to work and live abroad, but worry about getting lost in translation? Well, worry no more, as there are some affordable countries where English is spoken, like South Africa. Number 5 on my list, and it's one of the best and cheapest countries to live in. Possibly the cheapest English-speaking country to live in is South Africa. Not only can you get by without having to go to language school, but most South African cities have a high standard of living, similar to Western cities, which will make the transition much easier. And this makes it a strong contender as the cheapest English-speaking country to live in. Now, if that's not enough, then Africa's most southern country is also one of the most culturally and naturally diverse on the planet, from safaris to whale watching, river rafting to zip lining. You definitely won't get bored in South Africa. Popular jobs here: despite being an English-speaking country, South Africa has 10 other official languages, so teaching English is still a popular position. You can also find a whole range of jobs in tourism or international companies. That's if you want to work in the country itself. Otherwise, like I said, I recommend creating passive income so that you can work from home over the computer while doing the things you enjoy. And I'll put together a list of ideas, things that you can do, jobs you can do while living abroad, if that's something you guys are interested in, and I'll make that available on Patreon. So let me know. So let me know what you think. Now, the cost of living for here is going to be, for a rent for a one-bedroom apartment is around $350 to $500 per month. A domestic beer is around $1.70, and a meal at a local restaurant starts from around $8. So South Africa, it's a little bit more on the expensive side, in my opinion. Granted, it's still much less than the U.S. in terms of living, like, $350 to $500 for a one-bedroom apartment. Depending on where you live in the U.S., it varies, because there are some states where you can rent an entire house, I've heard, I think, for like $500. As I said, China is not on the list. One country that might actually surprise you, ironically, is going to be South Korea. All right, and let me tell you a little bit about South Korea. I've actually seen videos on YouTube of like people living in South Korea on small apartments and small budgets and doing well. Okay, so South Korea isn't the cheapest country in the world to live and to work and live, but it's made a list because the salaries are very competitive, and programs often include free accommodations, which reduce the cost of living significantly. Teaching English is the obvious work choice, as South Korea has made a name for itself as one of the best destinations in the world for teaching English as a foreign language. Korea's modern cities rival those in the US and Europe, and the countryside is stunning and diverse, and the food is incredible, and the people are friendly, making it a great destination to work, save money, and travel. Keep in mind as well, for those who are worried about things such as health standards and safety, South Korea is very much a westernized country, so you'll find a high standard of living, you'll find high standard of safety. Despite the fact that they're bordering North Korea, they haven't actually had a fight. They haven't actually gone at each other's. They actually haven't had a real fight in 50 years or something. So don't worry too much. So like I said, popular jobs, they are going to be teaching English, sales, but again, you should be focusing on passive income. That's my opinion. Working from home, generating income over your computer. And that again, and I've been also posted a ton of ideas for generating passive income that you can find on Patreon in the crypto and wealth building tier. There's already a ton of great content there. But if you want to see it, gotta go sign up. There's actually some spots open right now on the $30 tier and the $50 tier. There's only 2 spots left on the $100 tier. The $30 tier is on Patreon, is the crypto and wealth building tier. And on that tier, you're going to basically You're gonna learn crypto tips. You're gonna learn well building tips. You're going to get tons and tons of information on building passive income. You're gonna get just so much on that. For $50 a month, you also get coaching. So I'll actually reach out to you via Skype, and we'll sit down and we'll do a coaching session and to work towards what your goals are. For 100, and that's a 5-minute session. For $100 a month, you get a 10-minute session, and it's a bit more hands-on. There's only 2 spots left on the $100 plan, by the way. All right, let me see here. Now, cost of living for South Korea. Now, while it's still higher than in Southeast Asian countries, Korea is still very affordable, with rents for 1-bedroom apartments starting at around $375 and restaurant meals starting from around $6. So it's possible to live there. Now, this one you've probably all been waiting for. Dun 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 dun. Wait no more. Thailand. All right. So yes, good old Thailand has made the list, and you can definitely do well living in Thailand. Hey guys, if you're enjoying this video, you support the content, definitely consider hitting the like button, getting the likes up. Don't let the haters have their ways. Sharky said, how about Kansas? You can live cheap there. Laugh out loud. That's a great idea for people who want to stay in the U.S. But for those who are tired of the nonsense and the drama in the U.S., then living outside of the country, outside of the U.S., it doesn't just give you the ability to live cheaper. It also gives you more peace of mind because the culture is different. And in a lot of these countries, they don't have as much sensitivity to things that are happening in the U.S. So, for example, if you go to a country like Japan, people tend to be a bit more polite in Japan and more reserved in Japan. But then, ironically, they're not as culturally sensitive as Americans are when it comes to just about everything. Everything ranging from sex to things that are considered controversial. Granted, it's a bit different. So, for example, Americans tend to be a bit more outwardish, but then they also tend to be a bit more prudish. Japanese people, for example, outwardly they tend to appear more prudish, but in reality they're actually more open than for example Americans. So it's just an example of how cultures can be different, and it's nice being able to avoid some of that. And of course, it's not a perfect list because you'll find people who are kind of jerks everywhere. But yeah. Okay, so Thailand. No list of the best and cheapest countries in the world would be complete without a mention of Thailand. Even before the movie The Beach, travelers all around the world have fallen in love with the country of smiles. Living costs are incredibly low there. And even in big cities like Bangkok and Chiang Mai, beach resorts tend to be slightly more expensive, but are still cheap compared with other beach resorts around the world. And crystal clear water is a fascinating culture, and incredibly tasty food make Thailand the perfect place to live and work. To top it off, Thailand is also among the cheapest and safest countries to live in the world. Did you hear what I said? It's among the cheapest and safest places to live in the world. So that's something to consider. Popular jobs in Thailand are going to be teaching English. It's the most common, but there's also hospitality jobs that are available. The cost of living in Thailand, it's possible to live perfectly well on $600 in Chiang Mai. For example, you can find $1 meals at street stalls, markets, and food courts in malls. Rent as low as $150 a month for your own studio in a Western-style complex. A ride on a public bus starts at around 30 cents. Okay, now here's a pro tip for you guys. Whenever you travel overseas, if you want to avoid getting sick, because one of the problems is that when you travel to a lot of the countries, you can't drink the water. All right, you can't drink the water, and a lot of people, they drink filtered water in a lot of other countries. But here's a pro tip for you: if you don't want to get sick, like if you buy food at these little food stalls, these little vendors on the street, and you're like, oh, these countries have such low health standards. No, they don't. The problem is that the vendors, they use the water. They use the water that they catch from the faucet. All right, so the water that they use to prepare the food is not. It's not typically. It's not great water. Okay, so you have to. So when if you're buying food like off the street from these little street stalls, they don't really care what they're feeding you. All right, if you want to if you want to ensure that your food is prepared well and that it's sanitary, then the best thing to do is to, if you're going to eat food from that's prepared by someone else, you should purchase your food from a larger establishment, a more well-known establishment. For example, if you want to eat fast food, otherwise you should prepare your own food. Yes, this is a pro tip. Prepare your own food. If you want to avoid getting sick, prepare your own food. And when you travel overseas, it'll help you to save money, and it will help you to avoid getting sick. Okay? Next up, we have Peru. And if you're after a one in a lifetime adventure on a budget, Peru might be the perfect country for you. Bonus that it's one of the cheapest countries to live and work in. Ranked as one of the cheapest countries in the world, your dollar will stretch a lot further there than in other South American countries. Hiking the Inca Trail and visiting Machu Picchu are a must for any visitors. But there are also many other lesser known gems to discover too. Living and working in Peru will give you plenty of time to explore the Inca kingdom, from the sand dunes in Inca to the Amazon rainforest. Popular jobs there are teaching English and working for nonprofits and conservation projects. But you can also find work in marketing and tourism. And in terms of the cost of living, rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Peru can be as low as $250 a month, while a meal in a local market will set you back around $1 to $3. So it's really affordable. The final country on the list for you guys, and this part is going to surprise you, is actually Poland. You're like, what the heck? Poland? If your heart is set on working and living in one of the cheapest countries to live in Europe, Poland is another fantastic and affordable option, much less known than its neighbor, Germany. And Poland is slowly becoming a hotspot for international travelers and expatriates. The big cities of Warsaw and Krakow are very modern and have all the Western amenities that you could need, but at half the price you'd spend in Germany. Teaching is an option, but there's also a whole set of professional service jobs opportunities to be found that pay very well or can pay very well. In particular, EU citizens will find Poland a destination of interest as it's part of the Schengen zone, meaning that you can travel there without a visa. Very cool, right? Granted, if you're in the UK, I'm not sure if that's going to remain intact for you, because I know that the you guys are like in the midst of like getting your freedom, but hey, that's cool. Popular jobs again are customer service, teaching English, and the cost of living. Rent for a one-bedroom apartment starts at around $350 a month, and a meal out at an inexpensive restaurant is only going to be around $5. So I hope that this list has helped you. It's of course, there are many other options out there, countries that I did not include, places like Indonesia, places such as Russia, or countries are countries that have broken off from Russia. There's a specific one that I'm thinking of. I can't remember the name of it, but there's a bunch of other countries you can consider as well that are quite safe and you really get a good bang for your buck. But these were the countries I wanted to really single out, many that you've already heard of and that are quite feasible for you. So let me know what you definitely think, if this list was helpful for you. Cryptonomy Royal says, angry, deaf, time to go. The UK is getting ready for war. Sharky says, yeah, it's fun to irritate these rude people, Royal. So you guys don't even give a darn. Okay, Boyd Wayne says, Cantu in Thailand talking about global elite. He got away from crypto, didn't he? Laughing my butt off. Okay. Let me have a look at the comments. Yeah, some things. Cantu's been doing some things. Mickey says, angry, I'm being naughty right now. Innocent flower, my Oh my gosh. And Cryptonomy says, Hola chicas, Yola. Oh my gosh. All right. So, I mean, and again, guys, it's really about where you want to live, what culture you think that you would assimilate best to, and what makes you happy. And generating passive income, learning how to generate passive income is going to be the key to enable you to do this, which is why I say that your best option is going to learn wealth building tips and generating income so that you don't have to look for a job in these countries, and you can basically just live a really more comfortable life. And if you want to learn more wealth building tips, passive income tips, definitely join Patreon. Join the $30 crypto tier or above, and you'll learn crypto and wealth building tips. Mickey says, angry, even innocent flowers can be naughty. Oh gosh. All right, guys, let me know what you guys think about this video, if you enjoyed it, and if this has changed your thoughts about moving overseas. Don't forget to check out my crypto courses at cryptomoney.academy if you want to learn about cryptocurrency and safeguarding your future, because crypto is such a huge deal. And for one option that you can actually consider is day trading cryptocurrency to generate income so that it can help fund your living overseas. We have a great course on day trading cryptocurrency for a living. It's been very popular. I definitely recommend picking up that course if you're interested. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm looking, and don't let haters get you down. I'm not. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Get those likes up, guys. Love God. Go out there and get your money. And cheers.